One of the biggest landmines I see an ambitious vet make after transition is trying too hard to create momentum so they can finally feel successful. What if it only took 5 minutes a week to begin building your empire?
And I said to myself, if I can write for 5 minutes once a week, I'll be amazing. That's what mom life is like the first few months. And so I started doing that, and that was what I did for the first few months. Was I wrote once a week, and it was a prompt word, and I just wrote for 5 minutes.
Spring is officially here. As we welcome sunny days and warmer temps, I'm finding myself in full swing spring cleaning mode. And I'm not limiting my spring cleaning practices to my physical space. I'm also taking this opportunity to clear out unnecessary clutter in my head. Would you like to know my secret weapon for overcoming this landmine? Well, Ambitious Vet, it's my full focus planner. Save 10% with my link, plus get a free pack of Full Focus stickies when you select an annual subscription. Simply visit fullfocusplanner.com/ambitiousvet. Now, before I let you go, here's one golden grenade on how my Full Focus Planner helps me clear the clutter and focus on what matters most. Every Sunday, I start by reviewing my quarterly goals and my goal details. This Ambitious Vet reminds me of what's at stake, and it renews my motivation for good old motivation, Momentum Monday, whatever you call it. By the way, the Full Focus team just released 5 new planners. And for a limited time, you can save 10% on everything in the Full Focus store. This offer ends in a few days, so you're not going to want to fall back in the pack. Shop now by visiting fullfocusplanner.com/ambitiousvet. That's fullfocusplanner.com/ambitiousvet. Welcome to another Ambitious Vet Show. My name is Chris. I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran who got out and had a rough 5-year transition before climbing a corporate ladder to become a sales trainer to now impacting thousands of ambitious vets around the globe. One thing I realized is that immediate transitional tools had a shelf life for the goals us ambitious vets desire to achieve post-military. Does that sound familiar? Well, on this show, I dive into the trenches with today's most ambitious, goal-oriented, and growth-minded military veterans on the planet who have grown through the transition and have battle-tested golden grenades to empower you to break through new levels of satisfaction, fulfillment, and success after stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. So if you haven't already, ambitious vet, grab a pen and paper. It's time to break through to new levels of success in your life.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We are right back inside the trenches today with Amanda Huffman. Amanda is a military spouse and veteran who served in the Air Force for 6 years as a civil engineer, including a deployment to Afghanistan. After her 2013 transition, she traded in her combat boots for a diaper bag to stay home with her 2 boys and follow her husband's military career. Today, she's a published author, podcaster, speaker, and created an impactful platform for women of the military to be heard. Amanda, are you there?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. I think we originally met at MIC in DC, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Man, and I just remember meeting you, and Stephen Cullen from the Knucklehead Media Group was just like, you've got to meet Amanda Huffman. And I just got to tell you, when I met you, out of everyone there at the Military Infantry Conference, it was just like a calming type like conversation. You're just so genuine and just so sincere. And I was like, man, I am overwhelmed here. But you were like a calming space that just really have like a real conversation with. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Wow, that's such a nice compliment. I'm blown away.
Yeah, of course. So I want to kind of just start diving right into some of the topics that we've talked about that we think ambitious vets out there inside the trenches of life need to hear. First one is I think, me included, probably some other ambitious vets that are listening to this right now may perceive Amanda Huffman as like an overnight success. It just seems like you have the Midas touch, right? But walk us through the flaw in that perception, and just really your journey of slow and steady track throughout your entrepreneur journey.
Yeah, so originally I started my blog, Airman to Mom, and I was doing 5 minutes once a week because I had a brand new baby and I was just trying to survive. And I said to myself, if I can write for 5 minutes once a week, I'll be amazing. That's how what mom life is like the first few months. And so I started doing that, and that was what I did for the first few months. Was I wrote once a week, and it was a prompt word, and I just wrote for 5 minutes, and then I posted it, and I found a community of people, and I started learning about blogging, and it just slowly grew. Once I started writing, I had more things I wanted to write about, more things I wanted to share. And so I started sharing my story, but not really anyone was reading what I was writing or what I was doing. And part of that was good because I was really lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be a travel blogger or a mom blogger or military spouse blogger. So it was kind of good that I was able to use that time to figure out what direction I wanted to go. And then I started talking about my military experience as being a military spouse and a veteran, and it started to catch on, but not really that much. And then when the podcast started, it started to change and things started to grow.
That's great because I think a lot of, content creators, right, that want to get out there and kind of build an audience, actually build an audience, right? They don't realize kind of the work that has to go in at the very beginning, right? The trial and error, the messaging, and all that kind of plays a role, right? So what was that moment, Amanda, that had you kind of be like, yeah, this is it. I'm the voice for women in the military?
So in 2017, I did a deployment series on deployments, and I thought it was going to be mainly men because I emailed a bunch of the guys I deployed with, and none of them wrote back. And in the end, I actually got all these stories from women who had served in the military and deployed, and I was like, these stories are amazing. Why do people not know this? I mean, I didn't know it, and I was in the military. And so I found this passion to tell the stories of other women because I heard their stories. And so that's when I started to shift my focus from, I don't know what I was doing before, but that deployment series was where I went from trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. And then I also took a clarity class right after it. And he was like, you have to tell your story of being a veteran. And I was like, okay. And so it was the class and then the deployment story series that brought both things together. And then I started collecting. I said, I don't care about deployment anymore. I want to hear about women in the military.
Wow. And then at that time, leading up today, like, what would you say, like, the just ballpark figure of how your audience has grown, stuff like that, from having that aha moment? Because you are definitely blowing up.
I would say I was at like a 0. I didn't have very many like steady traction on my blog, and now it's like totally different because we PCS from California to Virginia in 2018, and I just didn't do anything with my blog. I like didn't post anything, and like nobody cared. And now it's 2021, and I can't really imagine just not doing anything with my business. I mean, I'm gonna front load for our next PCS so that stuff will keep going, because just taking time off, I think people will be like, wait, what happened? Where did she go? And so it's night and day, totally different.
Awesome. Which leads to the next topic, right? Because as you start creating content that resonates with your audience, right, you start getting in-mails on LinkedIn, you get messengers on Facebook, and you just start getting people be like, wow, I identify with that message, right? And that's incredible. That's when you know you're making the impact you want to be making. But also on the other side of things, you got a family to raise. You got a marriage to keep healthy. We got the all areas of life type thing, right? So walk us through on your way of just creating healthy boundaries? Because sometimes that can be hard.
Yeah, for a long time, I didn't take any days off. I just worked, and I was like, oh, I'm just working for like an hour. It's not a big deal. And now I take Sundays off entirely from working, and I'm not as good as I should. I try and take Saturday and Sunday off social media, but I usually break the rule and go on social media on Saturday. And then I'm also setting up end of day at 4 o'clock. Sometimes there's exceptions, but end of day at 4 o'clock so that I can spend time getting like everything ready for dinner and for my husband to come home and all that stuff. And so I just had someone send me a message and they were like, can we meet at 4 o'clock on Friday? And I was like, no, I'm closed. And I was so proud of myself for setting that boundary.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you are that direct with like your audience, do you ever get any kickback or any like, well, upset or anything like that?
No, I'm usually I'm a people pleaser, so setting boundaries is really hard for me because I expect people to be like, I can't believe, like, when I sent that message and was like, I can't meet at 4, I actually stopped working at 4. And she was like, oh, well, we'll just move it to 1. And I thought she was going to be like, well, you should have told me that in the beginning. Instead, she was like, oh, okay, we'll just move it to 1 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock. And it wasn't a big deal. And someone asked me to share something on social media this week and it wasn't a good fit. And so I just told them, like, thanks for sending this. It's not a good fit for me, but if you have something else along these lines, then I can help you. And people are always, when you set really clear boundaries, they are like, oh, okay, that's your boundary. They're not like, well, that's a dumb boundary. They respect those boundaries. It's just, if you don't tell people what those boundaries are, they don't know.
Right. Right. And I saw a quote on Instagram the other day that I shared in my story. It was like, those that get offended by your boundaries are the reason why you're actually setting them in the first place. I was like, wow. But it sounds like what makes the biggest difference for Amanda Huffman is like communication, being clear on what your priorities are and communicating that, right? Would you agree with that halfway at least?
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Awesome. So that's some amazing stuff. I think it's all in communication. I think a lot of us can be emotionally challenged with setting those boundaries, right? Because we want to please, we feel like we're not good enough. I know for myself, it's a lot of that too. I don't feel good enough. I feel like I haven't made it yet. So this connection may have me make it, right? And then at the end of the day, I'm completely burned out, right? It's just like, and I give my wife 1%, right? And she doesn't deserve that. She deserves 150% at the end of the day. So that's some great stuff. So one other thing that we wanted to talk about inside this episode, I know that we don't got you for very much longer. You're a busy woman, is the power of giving back, right? When did you learn this lesson and why is it so important for you?
That's a good question. When did I learn it? I don't think I learned it until I started the Women of the Military podcast, and I started getting emails from the women that I interviewed, or one time I got an email from a mom who was so happy that her daughter shared her story, and they just told me about how, like, they had never told their story to anyone and how much freedom it gave them and how empowered they felt to be able to share their stories. And the emails that I get from them are the reason that I keep going. And then I also have gotten emails from women who are joining the military, and they tell me about how the podcast helped them pick what branch they were going to join or what career field they were going to do, or inspired them to join. And it's like really cool to be able to give back to the next generation of military women and to help them in their journey.
No, that's amazing. So like what I hear in that is like giving back gives you fulfillment, right? It gives you satisfaction. And there are so many ambitious vets out there, probably the one that may be listening right now, that are just like, man, I got the career stability, right? But I'm missing something. I'm missing something. So you're saying that giving back would potentially just give them that extra ignition inside their heart to have them feel, feeling like they're on purpose a little bit.
Yeah, and I think veterans have the giving back kind of ingrained into who they are, because I mean, it's a volunteer service, so it's not like you were forced to be in the military in today's age. And so there's something inside of you that wants to either give back, or you found something in the military that brought you fulfillment. I know that's what my biggest transition, I felt like I had found my purpose. I was serving in the military, and then I became a mom and a military spouse, and I was like, wait, what just happened? And so finding that purpose again has made it so much easier for me, like as I transitioned, because people would ask me, well, do you regret getting out of the military? And for a long time I was like, well, my husband was active duty, I was active duty, and we wanted to actually see each other and raise our family, so it was the best decision to get out. But now I'm glad I got out, because I wouldn't be where I am today. But it took a long time, like 5 years, before I could say that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I constantly always look back and almost fall into the quote unquote glory days that we hear around serving, and want to go hang out with the veteran beer club. And hey, that was great. But you've got to pull ourselves forward with the purpose, right? So that's awesome stuff. So Amanda, we have a tradition here at the Ambitious Vet Show where we want to wrap this thing up with your 3 golden grenades, right? Wisdom bombs, right? For any ambitious vet that may be inside the trenches of life, that may just have career stability, but is lacking something, right? How can we fuel that veteran's purpose? What would be your 3 golden grenades to have them continuing to grow and advance in life?
I would say the first thing is to get started. I talked about how I started with 5 minutes a week, and it really can start with something that small. Sometimes I think you think I have to move a mountain, and it's like, no, you just have to take one step. And I also talked about like not knowing what I was doing. I wanted to be a mom blogger. I wanted to be a military spouse blogger. I wanted to be a travel blogger. Like the journey of figuring out like where you're supposed to be is something that I know it's hard to say, like, you shouldn't rush it, but you really shouldn't rush it, because once you find it, it's so worth the wait. But I know it's hard to wait because it does take a lot of time. But I'd say get started, enjoy the journey, and then learn from the successes and failures that you have. One of the reasons that I didn't do the other paths that I took was because when I went down those paths, it just wasn't the right fit for me. And instead of like stopping, I was like, okay, I learned this isn't good for me. And so I kept going. So get started small, enjoy the journey, and then learn from the failures and successes.
Boom. That is a golden grenade launcher. Thank you for blowing our minds so we can blow through our goals in our life, Amanda Huffman. So that is amazing work. So how can we sum this all up for an ambitious vet that may have a military spouse, or just someone out there that they want to learn more about you? Where can they go find out more information?
So you can head to my blog, airmantomom.com. You can also find my podcast, Women of the Military, on your favorite podcast app. And if you're considering joining the military service, or someone who's considering joining the military service, I have a Girl's Guide to the Military YouTube channel that you can check out to get information about joining the military.
Boom. Amanda Huffman, thanks for joining the Ambitious Vet Show. You are amazing.
Thank you so much.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Again, Ambitious Vet, if you're looking to achieve more by doing less, check out the Full Focus Planner, as the team just released 5 new planners. And for a limited time, you can save 10% on everything in the Full Focus store. This offer ends in a few days, so don't fall back in the rear with the gear. Shop now by visiting fullfocusplanner.com/ambitiousvet. Again, that's fullfocusplanner.com/ambitiousvet.